You could record it here. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. So we're gonna talk about interest rates. That's the hottest topic that we have today, right? Because the interest rates are going up. We're gonna talk about affordability, monthly payment. There's a new program out there for 2-to-1 buy down program for interest rates to lower your interest rate for first few years. So we'll go over that as well. Supply and demand, under contracts, cost of waiting, buy versus rent, and your MLS fees, so stuff like that, right? That screen is on as well, but everything on your slides is printed out for you here too. Okay. So let's talk about your interest rates, right? So this chart here shows you from 2008 till 2022. You can see it there too. That even in 2008, we were talking about the bubble. The interest rates were around 6%, 7%. It was there, right?
825.
He bought it. There you go, 825. So the chart shows around 6-7. He personally got it for around 8, right? So we're in that ballpark right now. We're seeing interest rates going up to 8%, 7.5, 6. On the lower end, we see about 6, 6.5. The higher end, we see around 7.5. Right, Jess?
Yes.
In that range, right? But when it comes to interest rates, everyone is different. Every borrower that you have is going to be in a different category. Some of them will qualify for on the lower end, some will have it on the higher end. And that is only, we can only find out by running their credit and checking with different lenders and finding out what is the lowest cost for them, who's offering the lowest interest rates. So currently, if they're looking at 6.5%, on the next slide, we want to talk about affordability, right? So if the interest rate is 6.5 for them, and as a household income is $85,000 for them, and they have around $100,000 for down payment, and they have no obligations, monthly obligations for them, and the property tax is around $5,000, they're looking around 582 as affordability. So they should be looking around for the price range between $550,000 and $600,000 if they want to afford it. The same family was able to afford around $650,000. So there's a price cut on their end of their affordability around $50,000 just by hiking the interest rate a little bit, right? So if you're under contract, you gotta. If you're on the selling side, you have to know that, hey, the buyer side, the pool of buyers are decreasing because there's less people can afford the same property, right? So you have to keep that in counter. Your monthly payment for 582, let's say you're purchasing a house for 582, and your monthly payment is going to be around $3,700, right? And that is $3,200 principal and interest, and $400 in taxes, and around $100 for your home insurance. So this example that we're using, there's a debt to income ratio, right? So most people that were going with conventional, they can't afford it. Their first step is to go with the FHA, because FHA allows a little bit more DTI, more debt to income ratio. So that will be the first step. If they can't get FHA loan either, then they'll get a denial letter that a lot of people seeing these days now, right? They simply can't afford it, right? Any questions on that? So if they're looking around, just for your knowledge now, if you're showing a property for $600,000, just make sure that they're not wasting your time, they're not wasting their own time. So if they can actually afford it or not, right? So when you're putting in an offer, is a good option to call your the loan officer and say, hey, I see the pre-approval here for $600,000 for your client or our mutual client. What does he qualify today? Does he actually can afford 7.5 interest rate? Can he afford 6.5? Whatever the case might be, right? So it's always a good idea to call the loan officer and find out what their situation is as of today, right? Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's a good DTI for FHA loan?
FHA maximum you can go up to is 56.
56.
Yeah, but we always say, what you can afford, it doesn't mean that you should go for that. you need to have some room, for other expenses, and you get new expenses all the time, right? So you want to leave it around 50 to around 50%, right?
55, 54, 53 DTI.
Conventional,
Conventional 49.
Yeah,
49.
yeah. We don't want to hit our 49.
If you have a DTI less than 45%, then maybe they can qualify with 1 year tax return.
Yeah.
If you're above 45, then maybe they need a 2 year tax return.
That's a big difference, right? Because some people they're purchasing a house, they will put in, pay the maximum tax, so they know they qualify. But if they want to keep their DTI less than that, then
45%.
45%.
They only taxes upfront.
No.
The
When
period, last
the
year.
loan officer is saying, "Hey, send me 2 years of tax returns," right?
Right.
They will say, "Just send me 1 year of tax returns because your DTI is less than 45%.
Okay.
You're making enough money that we just need to see 1 year of tax return instead of 2." Make sense?
What credit score we looking at here? For FHA?
Minimum we need a 680, but if they have like 740, 720 is the best. But the 680s we can do it.
Yeah.
With the FHA we can do with the 620. Yeah.
And number one, even when your clients, when they're talking to you and they're getting, you're showing them, ask them these questions. It makes you more professional. Ask them about their credit scores. Hey, do you need to improve your credit scores? Because you're showing them properties now and you're going to be under contract. And, then the loan officer is going to worry about their rate lock and all that. You should be advising them way beforehand. If their credit score is around 680, 685, tell them, hey, see if you can improve it somehow. If you need to pay off your debt, pay off those debt. But always talk to the loan officer for advice. So this way they can get the best interest rate, and more importantly, they can afford that property. Because at the end of the day, you could be under contract doing the whole 9 yards, and then your contract fell through because they simply can't afford it. And when they get that denial letter, there's nothing that anybody can do. Because there's a contingency, there's a paragraph in the contract, hey, if they can't get the loan, they're not penalized for anything. So simply, the contract will get canceled. Everybody they get their earnest deposit back, and you're starting from square one, right? So credit scores and DTI, these terms should be normal, normal in your head that, hey, I'm going to ask these questions to them. You're not a loan officer, but you're just asking these questions, right?
That applies for a 2 or 3K loan also.
Yeah, we can do 2 or 3K loan, but it's not easy.
Yeah. 203 loan is that, hey, if they want to purchase a property and they need to fix it up or they need to fix it, the bank will give them loan for that 203.
They need to involve with the HUD and a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's a lot of, but it's doable though.
It's doable, yeah.
Right, guys?
The one guy signed the contract already. When we run his credit, it's 659.
Yeah. So if it drops even a little bit, it goes under below 660, it's going to be a different story. 680 is going to be a different story. Right? 203K loan,
You can put enough income.
as long as you can afford it. Same DTI issue, same thing.
3.5% down payment.
The bank is telling you, the bank is saying, hey, we know that the property needs work, and we'll give you money, in stages. They don't just give you lump sum; it's in stages. And as long as you, renovating the property is definitely doable. But same thing, DTI and your credit score, right? Questions? You good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now, next slide we have is 2-to-1 buy down, right? This is a pretty important term because this is brand new, right? So, but in 2008, right, what really happened in 2008 was your subprime mortgages, right? Meaning a person that couldn't qualify or couldn't afford to purchase a $500,000 house, the loan officer somehow did it for them. They say, hey, we know it was just actual fraud, right? Person couldn't afford it. Their payment was low for the first few years, and then it jumped up, right? But the loan officer was actually qualifying them on the lower payment, right? And then a lot of people in America couldn't afford it, and then everything went downhill, right? We had the whole crash. So now when we hear this 2-to-1 buy down program, the first thing that comes to people's mind is that subprime mortgages. Is it similar to that, right? So a lot of people are getting this email that says, our temporary buy down program, right? We will reduce your interest rate by 2% for the first year and then 1% for the second year. So that's the way you get the term for 2-to-1. The first year, if you qualify for a mortgage today and your interest rate is 7.5%, right? The bank is saying the first 2 years, right? Yes. No, the first year, sorry, we're going to drop it 2%. Yeah.
Okay.
right? And then the next year we're going to drop it 1%,
Mhm.
right? Third year is going to be back to normal. Whatever you were qualified for, 6.75, 6.5, that's what you're going to get.
How about if there is the kind of drop, can you refinance and
Huh?
get back
Yes.
to
A balloon.
It is
Balloon
not a
pump.
balloon.
It's not a balloon. Balloon is that, hey, what is a balloon payment? Is that you have to pay the lump sum X after X amount of time. It could be 3 years, 5 years. It's not a balloon. It's not subprime because in subprime mortgages, they were qualifying you on the lower payment. And here is not the case. The loan officer is still going to qualify you on the higher end, looking at, hey, can you afford 6.5% or 7.5% today? Can you qualify for that based on your income and your credit score and stuff like that? But they're giving you this, saying, hey, first 2 years we'll drop your interest rate. First year we'll drop your interest rate by 2%. The second year we'll drop it by 1%. Third year will be back to normal,
There's a
right?
trick on it.
So there's trick on it. So hold on, okay?
Hold on, yeah. Best part coming.
Yeah,
Here's the
best part
best
is
part.
coming right now.
So
Yeah.
who's gonna pay for this? So the bank is not gonna say, hey, today's interest rate is 6.5, but we're gonna give you, 2 point less. It's not gonna happen, right? Somebody has to pay for it. So who's gonna pay for this,
you?
right?
It's like with COVID. COVID, they said you can stop payment for 2 months or whatever.
End of the day, you're still paying it. Yeah,
Bingo.
yeah. So and here is a little tricky, right? But I want you guys to understand it. So if you get an email for 2-to-1 buy down, or if your client asks you, hey, your guys are selling me 6.5, but my guys on this side is telling me 4.5 or 5.5, whatever the case is. So it's going to be a buy down, right? So the buy down program, the total savings that the person is going to have for the first two years, right, from that buy down program has to come from the seller. Right?
Seller have to pay for
So
that.
it got to be a seller concession, right? So we're putting in an offer, right? We're talking to them and say, hey, we like the property, we want to purchase it. Michael guys wants to purchase it for $500,000, right? And the listing agent says, hey, good, $500,000 is a solid offer. We'll accept it. But now you got to go tell them and say, hey, no, wait, we need seller's concession, right? So the seller is not going to say, hey, they're not going to sell it less than $500,000, right? So you have to tell them, hey, we'll put in the offer. We know you guys accepted for $500,000, but we'll put in the offer for $510 on paper, right? But we need that $10,000 back as seller's concession. You're still getting $500,000. That gets added to the loan amount.
No,
Right?
No, this is the trick. But that means the buyer have to pay. So no, if the offer is $500,000, so they have to accept it with $500,000, and by the end of the day, he have to get $490.
No, but that's where the inflated comes in.
Yeah.
Like how Blake explained it, right? I'm going to show you in the next slide. We'll go
Yeah, but
back
the
to this.
seller actually pay for that out of the proceed of what he's
No, the seller is already saying that, hey, we're agreeing on $500,000, right? That's one. Everybody on the same page? They're purchasing it for $500,000. But your offer, just like Blake said it, right? We have to put it as $510. We have to inflate it, and we put it as a seller concession. End of the day, the seller is still getting $500,000, right? Makes sense?
Who's going to pay the difference?
So where is that money coming from?
End of the day, it's still the buyer, because it's still the buyer's and that money is not goes to the loan amount, right? The way the underwriter explained it to us, that money in this example was $16,000, right? 2-to-1 buy down. That is held in a separate escrow account for that client, the borrower. It's still with the bank, but it's held on the side, right? So let's say in this example here, the initial interest rate was 6.75, right? That's what the person qualifies for. But for the first year, he's going to get 2 points less. So it'll be 4.75. So his monthly payment, instead of $4,700, is going to be $3,800, right? For the first year. Sounds great to him. He's like, hey, I'm going to take it, And there's saving of $934. And that's $11,000 in savings, right? So now let's say after first year, the interest rate do drop the next year, right? Maybe summertime or next end of next year, and you want to do a refi. The way the underwriter explained it, that money, the saving that's held, that will be held for the borrower. That's the only time they will benefit, right? If they don't benefit, if they just eat it up for the first 2 years, they're not getting that money back. That is being eaten up, right? But your initial offer, when you're putting in the initial offer, has to be where you see that offer letter slide, right? There's two offers there. 510 as the agreed price, $20,000 on the contract, $400,000 as a new mortgage, and C, it says $10,000 seller's concession. Okay? And if it was without it, you will see the offer as $500,000, $20,000, $400,000 as a mortgage, and zero concession. If it was just a normal $500,000. So you can do it two ways. You can submit your offer directly as 510. You know your buyer is paying $500,000. You can submit your offer 510 with your seller's concession if you want to just keep it simple, right? Or you can have a conversation with them, say, hey, my guys need seller's concession because they want to go with a 2-to-1 buy down program, right? And so this way you'll put in, you'll tell them, hey, I'm going to put in an offer for $500,000 and we need some concession, right? You can do it either or. You can send your first offer with the concession or send it without the concession and then update your offer letter, right? However you want to do it. End of the day, the price has to be inflated. Okay?
No.
You're not confused, na kare.
No.
Okay? It has to be. Why you inflate it has to be that. Okay? There's no other way around it. If you're saying 5 di karke 490 laiye, unne nahi lani hai. Okay?
This 10,000 you still short $6,000.
I'm sorry.
Where
I'm
does
sorry.
that come from?
One second.
This 10,000 extra that you're putting on the offer, 510. So this 10,000 goes to the buyer side or the seller side.
Goes to the buyer side. End of the day, the seller, anything that you see in concession has to minus. It could be seller's concession for whatever reason. The seller is giving legally. The seller can give up to 6% in a transaction. The seller can give a concession of 6% for whatever reason to help out the buyer for the closing cost. This is exactly that. But the seller now, if he knows that, hey, I'm not going to sell less than $500,000, he's not going to sell it, right? So it has to be inflated. It has to be a little bit higher, and then you include that seller concession in there. Unless you can make it happen, right? We're going to talk about this down the slides.
We have already. We did already.
Yeah, right. We're going through as a buyer's market, right? In buyer's market, who has the more power? The buyers do, right? So the buyer's offer will be like that. No conversation with the listing agent. Hey, we saw your house. Great. Here's our offer for $500,000, and we need $10,000 concession. Simple as that. Try that first. If that doesn't work, then increase the offer letter and see what happens
He's
there.
here. We did his deal yesterday.
So 2-to-1 buy down program. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that. I'm pretty sure we had questions.
But you
Questions?
still short $6,000. Where's that $6,000?
No. We're just using it as an example.
I know.
Yeah. No, that example is $650. Yeah, that one they're purchasing a house for $920. The offer letter we're doing just an example of $500,000. Right? It could be any amount. It could be $1 million. It could be any amount. Right?
Sorry, thank you.
The seller's end of the day on paper is coming out from seller's pocket on paper, but the seller is already agreeing that hey, they know that they're selling the house for $500,000, but the offer clearly stated is $510. Right? Make sense? End of the day, when they get rid of that $10,000,
the buyers will get benefited from this program, right?
yes, the buyers, because how buyers doing it, because end of the day in this example, instead of $4,700 monthly payment, for the first year is going to be $3,800, and the second year is going to be $4,200, and third year is going to go back to normal as $4,700.
The loan will be approved on 510. No problem.
Yeah, the loan is always approved on the higher end,
And your appraisal has to come in for 510.
Yes.
and your appraisal has to come on the inflated price.
But Ravi did yesterday.
So, could you want to share that?
Can you
Yeah,
share?
well, I had a client, the deal was basically dead because the interest rate went to 7%. So the seller was buying a house in Virginia. So instead of them losing the house, I went to them and told them it was what, 12,000?
Yeah, 12,000 salary concession.
Right? But they didn't want to give the client 12,000 because that's a huge break. Right? So they agreed to give them 10,000 and the client has to pay them 3,000
Separate.
separate. right? Because so that way they incorporate it into the seller's concession and got it.
Yeah.
So now they're getting a rate of like 5%, and their monthly payment is what, 36
Yeah, 36 something.
Temporary.
instead of 44.
Yeah. And what's name? The sale price was 660,
60.
and then sellers agreed to reduce the $10,000 price as a seller concession.
Right. Like I said, the way the market is, we're going to talk down on the slides too and everything. We're going towards the buyer's market. So if you're going to go through that approach first, when you know your contract is falling, right, you're going to call the listing agent, hey, we need a seller's concession, and they might agree on some amount, full amount, whatever the case might be.
And if your deal is going through, you already know your appraised value,
Yeah.
right? So you work from that.
Yeah.
Also, I sold it to another client yesterday. I had a guy in the Bronx. He was scared with the rate going to 7%. I told him about it. He decided to go with it and start looking back.
Right.
Yeah,
So that's the
within
approach.
next 2 years, the rate should go down because right now the rate is temporary high.
And even
It's
if
not
it
so-
goes high, you'll still be at whatever it is today.
Yeah.
Mhm. And we have to understand why the government is increasing every month, right? Every 6 weeks is going up again in November, right? Next month is because of the inflation. They can't control it, and it's just like it's just back and forth. They just feel like they need to bring that inflation down by increasing, so it could be less spendings out there. But they still can't control it. Interest rate, the inflation is still high, so we don't know how long it's going to take. It might take another year or 2 years, but whenever it does, is the interest rates will drop. When they do, this buy down program is coming in handy because they're going to refinance and they're going to benefit. The hard part right here now is the seller concession part. You guys can go straight up, like different ways of just like putting in your offer with the seller concession. This is what we need, or if you guys have a normal deed that's under contract, if it's falling through, go this route first. Try to save the deal. If you can't save the deal, if it falls through, obviously you can't do anything about it.
And if the bank that you're working with doesn't want to do it, come to John. He had mine done in 15, 14 days.
Yeah, 15,
Yes.
14 days.
Yeah.
So
and I
before,
did a
yes.
refi, Mahadev. It's proved already. Ready
Okay.
to,
Yeah,
that's what
11
we do.
days, I think. Right?
11 days.
Yeah.
11 business day.
Yeah.
When we talk 11 day or 15 day, we talk about business day, Monday to Friday.
So yeah, the options are there.
And he qualified
Yeah.
by himself. There's no cosign or nothing.
Mhm.
A refi.
Time's up, yeah. Before we were not asking for your business. Now we are. Obviously, no
They would want
kickbacks.
to be the
but we're
best
asking-
deal,
yeah.
best rate, and fast close.
Just for yourself, so you guys can close deals. We see some other loan officers not responding for like weeks just to because they don't know the answers. We have different banks, different lenders, and we just shop around for them. So
Yeah,
For,
no
this,
income
for this
So,
deal, they were given the
1
lady
year,
7
it's
award.
gonna go back to 4.75, or it's gonna go back to
When?
I'm just-
Year 3?
Uh-huh.
Year 3 is going to be back to
Note
in this
rate,
example the
6.7.
note. Yeah, so 6.75. That's what it's going to be. From year 3 to year 30, it's going to be 6.75, right? But first 2 years, the first year is going to drop 2 points. The second year is going to drop 1 point, right?
So
We're
in that
good.
situation, lucky one, if the house is like $500,000 and then you give a concession of 10,000, in the offer letter, the range by 10,000, 510 maybe, the loan is approved on that particular amount. So after 3 years, the buyer is paying more than actually they have to pay for 500,000, I guess. Like if the installment amount is like 3,500 for $500,000 for 6.75. And after 3 years, it's going to be high because of the offer letter is 10,000 more.
No, the loan amount, a little confused. After 3 years,
Yes, let's say for the two to one buy, the $500,000 is the actual price of the house, and it has been increased by 10,000 because of the inflation. Okay, 510 for the 2 to 1, and the interest will be 4.75 for 2 years, and then 5% for 3 years. Okay, and the fourth year it will be 6.75 back to the norm.
the third year,
Yeah.
third year.
So when the third year comes, so whatever they have qualified for the first installment in the first year, if they don't go for the 10,000 extra concession. So the third year installment will be higher. I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah, the third
than the
year
actual one.
will be 47. In this example that we're using, the first year their payment will be 3,800. The second year will be 42, and the third year, from third year to 30 years, it will be 4,700.
Let me check the amount. I'm not sure the beginning of the month. So this is the amount after the concession, after the 4.75 or 5.75, or 2 to 1 for example. right?
Yeah.
It was a $510,000 the market cost of the house. The operator. If the price is saying 510, okay, for example, the price is $500,000, and the monthly payment with a 6.75 interest, it goes for 4,000, for example. Okay, so after 3 years, if I go for the 510, it will be higher than 4,000
No.
because the operator's price is high.
No. The offer letter price, and when that's going to be the offer letter price, their down payment, whatever the loan amount is, right? They're doing all that calculation on the first one, the note rate. When we say the note rate, that's the main rate, right? That's going to be the rate that's going to stay for 30 years. So the loan amount will not change. It's just that you're out of that full loan amount that you have. It's just that instead of making $4,700 every month for it, they're just giving you a break for first 2 years.
Think of it as an adjustable rate. The first year you're at 4.5, the second year you're at 5.5, and then the third year you're going back to 6.5.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but let's just say you do want to refi before that, and you have that savings left. They will give you that. They will give you those.
So this amount,
Hi.
the concession,
The concession is added to your original loan. So when they calculate your original monthly payment at the 6.5%, it includes everything.
that's what I'm pointing. So there are two offers, for example, 500 and 510. The monthly payment for both these amounts is totally different.
Yeah, a few dollars off. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
when you're putting in your original offer, you're telling them, okay, I'm giving you 500,000, but I need 10,000 sellers concession in that,
In that.
right? So your original number that you're actually selling the house for is 490, not 500, right? You're getting as a seller 490, but I'm still borrowing as a buyer 500. So it doesn't increase to the 10,000 because it's already included in that 500,000.
And one thing I do like about this program is that they hold that money, the concession part, as a bank, they clarify that they're holding it in a separate account for you,
The escrow.
right? In a separate escrow account for you. So if you decide to refi before that, right, within a year or so, that money, the savings
to the
that, it goes towards your principal. So that will definitely help. The hard part, again, is the seller. If the deal is falling through and they know the seller is already in panic mode, right? It's a good point. It's like, hey, we need a seller concession of 2%. Let's make this deal happen. There's a good chance they will say yes because of the way the market is. 2 years ago, when we had, when we started this, and there's a line out the door for open houses and everything. Is a seller's market. They don't want to look at concession. That's why the new agents, we said, hey, don't worry about concession because that market, if you put in a concession, there's a good chance your offer will not get accepted because there's like 10 other offers, cash offers, conventional loans, all that, solid offers. So your concession is not going to do you any good. But we're going towards now where like the contracts are falling, so you want to put it in there like, hey, let's try to make a deal happen going through with the 2-to-1 buy down. It's still benefit for the client. The seller has to, eat it up, or you guys have to change the price. Make sense? Questions, concerns, guys?
So average is like 2%, 1.84%.
Yeah. It's always less than
it's
2%.
Seller concession.
Legally, we can go up to 6%, but this one is around 1 to 2%, right? But more importantly, I just want you guys to know what 2-to-1 buy down program is. When you guys see an email from another loan officer or if another agent mentions it to you guys should be educated that, hey, I know my stuff. We're good? All right, guys. So next slide we're going to look at is supply versus demand, right? So this is an example for Nassau here. This is supply again. The supply is the inventory, right? It's still negative 4%, right? That means like the properties are not coming in the market as fast as the demand is there. But now we're seeing the interest rates are increasing, so the demand is decreasing as well. Why? Because the affordability. People cannot afford, if there were 100 people before, 100 buyers, at least 20 of them are out of the game now. They're in the renting, they have to do more savings, they have to increase their income, or they have to increase their credit scores. Whatever the case may be, they need some work. So out of 100 people, at least 20 is what is in the works for, right? So next is your contracts. Just within this week, we had 3, it's our company, we had 3 contracts that fell through. and all of them were from the loan officer side. They send a denial letter, can't be done, they can't do anything about it, right? So they're down around 30% from last year, and we know the reason. We know that interest rates were really low before, people could afford more, and they were just putting in their offers. It's reducing now, and that's why we see the chart the way it is. So this is really important now, that most people think that, hey, we're in a buyer's market. Some people think we're still in a seller's market, but the way we feel like where the numbers are showing that we're heading towards buyer's market. Buyer markets happens, like 100% happens when there's like, if you have one client and you have at least 10 or 20 properties, same exact properties, and you're putting in the offer, and majority of the offers are getting accepted. It's a buyer's game, it's buyer's market. We don't have that yet because we don't have the inventory, right? The day the inventory comes in, of course, it's going to be the prices will adjust because you're not going to put as strong as offers as you were doing it before, right? So if you have a house that's $600,000, another house for $620, another house for $580, of course you're going to be like, hey, this $580 has the same specs as $620. Why would I want to put $40,000 more, right? It could be in Valley Stream, it could be here, it could be anywhere, right? So when it comes to buyer's market, right, and we said there's less buyers are qualifying. So the buyers that do qualify, they have some leverage, right? So if you're the buyer's agent, you're going to tell your listing agent, hey, this is our offer, this is our best offer. Take it or leave it, right? When it's buyer's market, that's how it is. The sellers, listing agents were doing the same exact thing when it was seller's market. It was like, hey, we need all cash. Okay, you don't have all cash? We need a conventional loan with 25% down. Oh, you don't have that? Okay, fine, 20% down. And now in buyer's market, they'll take FHA. Like, hey, FHA, as long as you guys qualify, fine, come to us, right? So when you're putting in an offer in buyer's market, you want to put in a solid offer. You don't want to lowball. If it's a property for $600,000, if you put in an offer for $500,000, it's not realistic. When we're being, as realtor professionals, we have to keep it, realistic. So if it's, you do the comps, you check your RPR, you check your geodata, you do your comps, see what's on the market, and make a solid offer. Doesn't have to be the asking price or the listing price, but have it solid offer, right? Do not lowball. Lowball is for investors, all cash, and they throw in 10 offers that's like all lowball, and they hope that one of them sticks. But when you're you have your buyers, they're serious, they're well qualified, make solid offers. Don't always go for the listing price or over the listing price now, right? Try to stay below that. If it gets rejected, the listing agent will call you. It's not like they have like 20 other offers. They'll call you and say, hey, let's make this work. Let's increase it a little bit. And then you negotiate and you go, make that work. Make sense? Questions, concerns? Right? So contingencies, right? When it was a seller's market, if you put a contingency, hey, I need a home inspection, I need bank appraisal contingency, and they will reject that offer because there was another offer, same price, right? But without those contingencies. So in buyer's market, the contingencies are back. Hey, this is our offer for $600,000, but I want to make sure that I get a clean report for home inspection. There's no issues with that, and the bank will value it. We have seen so many deals during COVID time where the buyers were paying $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 in difference from their pocket because the appraised value was different. The bank said, hey, it's valued at $550, but your offers was at $650, right? So contingencies are definitely back. So just make sure that when you're putting the offer, you tell them, hey, we need to get the home inspection done and we need a bank appraisal contingency. Make sense, guys? So there's a cost of waiting, right? So anybody that tells you, hey, I'll wait for next year, or I'll wait for 2 more years, I'll see, if the prices drop or not. There's a cost, even if the interest rates are higher, right? There's a data that we use a company called MBS Highway. There's a data that they've been collecting for years for the whole United States, right? So these are like stats for cost of waiting. So let's say you want to purchase a property here in Queens for $580,000, right? And you decide that for today it's 580, and you are going to get an interest rate of 6.5, right? Fixed FHA loan. If you look at it, there's a chart here for waiting for 6 months, waiting for a year, waiting for 2 years, or waiting for 3 years, right? So the property value is very realistic here, that it goes up slowly. But by year 3, that 580 went up to 657. That's 13%. So you lost right there. Your value, let's just say you purchased it today and you were going to sell it after 3 years, you're losing money because you never purchased that property, right? So let's talk about the overall cost, right? So total cost of waiting. If you wait for the same property in Queens for 6 months, you're losing about $9,000. If you wait a year, you're losing about $28,000 in value, right? 2 years, you're looking at around $60,000, and 3 years, $94,000. And these are very, like I said, they look at the appreciation around by 4%. Historically, they go back about 65 years. So these numbers are very realistic. Okay, so anybody that says, "Hey, we'll purchase it next year," show them this, right? That the values always go up. They can always refi. They can always decrease their payment, monthly payment down the line. But the property value, especially in Queens and Long Island, we live in New York City, the values are always going up, historically speaking. Any questions on that? Right? So next slide we have is for buy versus rent, right? Same thing as cost of waiting. If someone is renting it, you want to advise them. You guys are realtors. They expect an answer from you guys. Why should I buy a house today, right? Instead of renting it out. One is that, let's say you're renting a place for 9 years, right? After the 9th year, you decide, hey, let me move from Queens to Long Island. What are you taking from here? Nothing, just your stuff, right? All the payments that you have paid for 9 years, where did it go to? To the landlord, right? So you gain nothing out of it. You just lived in that place, and you're leaving with nothing. If you had purchased the same property 9 years ago, this is what we're gonna do: rent versus buy. So if your rent is around $2,200 and your mortgage payment versus a mortgage payment of $3,200, so of course there's $1,000 difference, right? That you're saying, hey, I'm renting it for $2,200, but my mortgage is going to be $3,200. Like, I think renting is still better, but it's not, So as long as they can qualify, this is for qualified, people who are renting, but they qualify to purchase a property. By year 9, on this sheet here, their cash flow is going to be negative, obviously, because they're paying more in mortgage instead of paying the rent, right? So whatever they pay for the rent is gone. For the mortgage, they got, for 9 years, they got $310,000 in appreciation gain, that the property valued higher and higher every year, and after 9 years, it went there, right? And this gives you a full total cost, even if you're purchasing a house at $600,000 and forecasted appreciation of 4%. After 9 years, you're looking at $910,000. So that's a gain of $300,000 for you, right? So you decide to sell the house, and after 9 years, what are you taking? You're taking $300,000 with you. So that $80,000 we said, the whole cash flow, you're still making money, right? Again, if you can qualify for a mortgage, you want to purchase a property, it's definitely better to purchase than to rent it out, right? Next page we have is your net gain after 1 year. So the first question you want to ask your people that's renting out right now is like, how long you've been renting out that place? If they say, hey, I always move, and then, I don't have a steady job, and, I'm not fully settled yet. So for those clients, you tell them renting is perfectly fine for you because you're not sure. But if the person tells you, hey, I've been living here for 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case is on renting, look how much money they're losing. If they're gonna live there for 1 or 2 years, there's no point of purchasing, because when you want to sell the house after 2 years, you're not gonna make a lot of money out of it. You probably break even. If you sell it after the first year, you actually lose $19,000, So if you're gonna just buy it for 1 year, you don't want to advise. Tell them, hey, just rent it out for a year or two. It's fine. But when you're ready to purchase and you're gonna live there for 9 years, 10 years, even 8 years, looking at this graph, on year 2 they're making positive $1,000. On year 3 is 25,000. Year 4 you have 50,000. Year 5 81. Look at year 9, $261,000. So there's a huge difference when they're purchasing versus when they're renting. Questions, concerns? Why you should rent versus buy? How about you guys?
But
Renting,
Jennifer, renting
purchasing?
everyone.
No, anything that's you guys renting? Anyone that's what holding you guys
I
back?
advise them to buy too, but they can't afford it.
Yeah, Robbie,
Yeah.
you're
If they
right.
can afford it, that's perfectly fine.
I
But this is
advise
for the
them.
people who can afford it, but
Because
they
if
say
they
you want
buy
to
the
wait.
house, it goes to him. So
Yeah.
either way.
Either way, yeah.
Either way.
Right.
Only we nobody from tenant said they don't have enough money for the down payment.
Yeah, same thing. But when it comes to down
No
payment, it's the
tenant
loan
has enough
officer.
money for a down
Yeah.
payment. They don't even have money to pay us sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's why nobody said them. So instead of going to the 2 or 3,
But some people still qualify.
go for the small
Yeah.
one.
But they
But
don't
somebody-
want the
they're not
headache
educated. They're
of,
not- yeah.
the mortgage
They
and
don't
stuff
think
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But the first thing is the credit score, because some of them they just feel like their credit score is too low, so they
Too
need to
low,
fix that. Second is your down payment. They need to fix that too. If they don't have any savings, they need to have some savings.
Yeah.
And then they depends on the loan officer. They will tell them, hey, you qualify for conventional 3% or FHA 3.5%. There's different programs out there. It's still better for them to
But the
purchase.
most important something I found, like, sometimes people say, like Muslim people, I can say, interest, I cannot pay for the interest. They go for the Islamic financing. So technically both are same.
Anyhow, as long as they can
Both are
finance
same,
it,
but
purchase
just
it,
mindset
yeah.
alone.
Because whatever loan that they're purchasing from, those people are gonna sell that loan anyways. So it doesn't matter how they can come to us, they can go to anybody else. That's fine.
It's like Islamic finance, mortgage. I said, both are same for you people.
Mm.
In fact, Islamic finance has more payment than your.
Yeah, those are private loans. Yeah, yeah. As long as they can qualify, they can afford it, they can purchase it. Let them purchase it. Hopefully with you, right? Questions, concerns, guys, before we move on. All right. Next, we're gonna go a little off topic with our dot loop, right? In dot loop, as soon as you create a file, although at the bottom you have your task, right? These are the tasks that's gonna take you to the closing. So we have few new agents, so people experience, just bear with us. Let me know if you guys have any questions, okay? So these are your tasks to the closing. So you have your offer letter and you have your agency disclosure. The agency disclosure is so important, guys, that even when the closing happens, I have to chase you guys back to get the agency disclosures. It's happening a lot less now, but it's still happening, right? So the agency disclosure, the offer letter, pre-approval, and proof of funds, all 4 things goes to the listing agent, right? You email it to the listing agent as soon as you want to put in an offer. The proof of funds, you're telling them, hey, they're putting down $100,000 as their down payment. His proof of funds as showing on the bank statement. So if it's one person has 2 or 3 different accounts, and one account has 20,000, the other one has 30, the other one has 50, you add all 3 of them, show them as screenshots, and send it to the listing agent. That's your proof of funds. The pre-approval comes from the loan officer. And on the pre-approval letter, just make sure you guys read it right. There's 2 terms. One is the loan amount, and one is the purchase price. Just make sure that you guys, when you're reading it, hey, this person qualifies for a purchase price of $600,000, and this is what the loan amount is going to be, right? And different banks have it different, organized in different ways, but you're looking for those 2 terms. So once your offer is accepted, you submitted those things, you want to do the home inspection right away. Just like how we mentioned it now, we're heading towards buyer's market. Before you go under contract, get your home inspection done. Costs around $500. It could be lower, more or less, but get that done as soon as possible. If you have to go back and negotiate. This is the time to do it. Once you guys are on the same page, your buyer signing the contract, then the seller is signing the contract, right? Once both parties signs the contract, the term is fully executed contract, FEC. Okay, you'll see that a lot from the attorneys. So once the contract is fully signed, the buyer's attorney will order the title report. The title report will show everything that's going on with that property going back at least 65 years, about 60 to 70 years. right? And once the contract is signed, the attorneys order the title report. The loan officer is doing the mortgage now with the same executed contract, and he's going to provide a commitment letter and order the appraisal within about a week or so, right? So commitment comes within a week or so, and then the appraisal comes within another week or so, right?
Commitment comes before.
Commitment comes before.
Yeah, commitment come before.
Yeah, it really depends on the
Commitment
bank.
we can
Yeah.
give like 2 days, right?
Yeah.
Depends on the bank.
Depends on the bank. Some banks are really like, they take their time and all that. But from our end, we try to issue it as long as they qualify. We try to issue it right away.
As soon as possible.
Yeah. Right. So once the bank appraisal is done, right, and there's a lot of conditions that the loan officer has to go through, which Carl's went through now, and he went through a lot with his deal. So there's a lot of back and forth. If you want to be involved in that, that's great. You being the helping hand, you're helping them out, but you don't
Yeah,
have
we
to.
did everything.
When Jazz called me, I'm like, oh God, what now?
Yeah, right. So Ravi was doing it firsthand too. Any
Every
condition,
time
he
you
would run it
call,
through
he's
him.
like, I wonder what we have to get.
And it's an underwriter.
Yeah,
They give
they
you a
are
loan, so they have
busy.
to make
not
sure they're
have-
satisfied.
Yeah.
We have doing all that.
Yeah, but it's good though because you have a relationship with the client, so it's easier for you to ask them than.
Yeah. It's perfectly fine. I mean, like I said, if you want to be the helping hand, great. If you don't, that's fine too. You want to let the buyer and the loan officer handle it, that's fine too, right? But to get your experience if needed. So once that's done, what you want to hear from the loan officer is CTC, right? Clear to close. Once he tells you, hey, we are clear to close, all the attorneys, both attorneys, and the bank will schedule a closing date, time, and location. And your job is to, whatever that time is set, you want to do the final walkthrough. And final walkthrough, you just want to make sure everything is good. There's no issues with the property, right? Simple as that. And then your deal is closed. Any questions on the steps? Majority of you guys have known this, right? We're good? All right, guys. Next, you guys know that as LJ, we don't charge any fees. There's no office fees. There's no desk fees. There's nothing, right? We want you guys to close your deals and make your money. The only fees that you guys have to pay is the MLS fees on yearly basis, and that's required. We need all our agents to be, paid MLS fees on time. So there's two fees. Before it was just one combined, but a few years back they split it into two fees. When we say MLS is just a regular term for multiple listing services. So MLS is all over United States, right? So it's just a broad term. But within that MLS, our MLS is called LIBOR. So Long Island Board of Realtors. So it's LIBOR. Their invoices are from September to September every year, right? And their fee is $545, right? So that's your main big fee. Your second fee is from One Key, and that's from January until December, and that's $110. So those two fees, they come and everyone has to pay them. Let's say one agent decides they're not going to pay it, they will suspend everyone, the whole office.
The whole office.
So
Yeah.
what's the difference between LIBOR and One Key?
I'll tell you, yeah, perfect. So LIBOR is just Queens and Long Island, one branch, right? One Key is putting everybody together, Brooklyn together, Bronx together, Hudson, putting all of them together. One Key was launched a few years back, so this way we can actually see their listings.
Okay, so let's say if I'm searching, I go to the regular MLS on LIBOR, now I'll just get Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island.
Yeah.
But if I go on One Key, I'll get the Bronx,
Exactly.
and
Yep.
Westchester, and all of those.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through the next page too. Yeah, but just know on these fees, if you're a brand new agent, there is a $200 fee that they're charging upfront, right, for a new sign up. So you will see that there. Okay, they're making their money, right? On the fees note, right? Sorry to bring this up, but if you want to list any property on MLS, run it through me, please. You don't want to hit with fines, right? It could be a line or two, it could be a photo or two, it could be whatever the case might be. We don't want you to pay anything out of your pocket and stay in compliance. Just tell me, hey, this is the listing I have. I have to put it in MLS, and let's put it together. Once you get the hang of it, you can do it on your own. But I don't want you guys to get hit with fines, right? MLS is there to make money. I mean, these guys are really, you know,
Professional.
yeah, they're really
Yeah,
professional.
my first meeting.
Yeah,
I got the fine too, remember the
Yeah,
first time
yeah.
I listed?
yeah.
Now you can't put nothing accepted offer anymore. You got to take it temporary.
Yeah. You can't say, hey, no more
200
showings. If you
decibels
put the
in your-
word no more showing,
Yeah.
they're like, no, take it down. I mean, they're strict now. So,
I have to pay.
yeah, if you put your business card, let's say you should put as one of the photos, if you put your business card, that's another fine. It's ridiculous.
If
It's-
renting
yeah.
no picture, another fine.
Yeah. It gotta be it. And the first picture has to be the full
Full
front.
front.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
front, yeah.
renting? on-
Yeah, if you list it on MLS, you have to have
I
one
don't-
picture.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've
Listing
never
side.
listed on MLS for rental.
Yeah.
If you
keep
do,
it off
it
the
has to be
books.
picture.
Everything is off the books. Yeah.
As long as it works, right?
So I don't even know how to go about doing that, like
Mhm.
listed on the MLS, because you
That's
get all
fine,
these
yeah.
random agents
Mm-hmm.
trying to push their client
Yeah,
off
yeah,
of
yeah,
you,
yeah.
which doesn't
No, I mean,
work.
if you can, even if it's a listing, I mean, it's called pocket listings, illegal. They don't want you to do it. Any listing that you get when you're coming for the selling side, you have to list it. You have to do the right thing doing it. When you're doing the renting and you know you have clients, you just want to get it done, you can get it done. You know, but when it comes to listing, you want to do the right thing by the seller. You want them to get the maximum exposure and get the maximum offers so they can get the best price, right? We're representing the seller. Ravi just mentioned One Key MLS. This is their website. So any property that you can't see in KV Core, right? KV Core and LIBOR are connected. But if anything that's on not in KV Core, the first website you should go to is onekeymls.com, right? And there you can just search for the property and it will give you the listing agent's phone numbers. Obviously, you don't want to share this page with your client, right? The client already told you the property and you're looking it up and they want to see it. You just call the listing agent and schedule it. But the website to remember is onekeymls.com.
We don't have to log in there?
No login. It's just straight up public for that. Right? But not anybody, like they don't promote them. So it's just for, agents. So, they're not promoting it directly to the buyers, So, but this is for you. First step, KV Core. If it's not in KV Core, go onekeymls.com. Right? So what's
pay करना ही पैना.
Yeah. One key, 110, $110 invoices will come in January for everyone. Okay. Any questions on fees, concerns, guys? Anything? We're good. So what's in the news? Huh? These are the latest headlines that I saw maybe within the last 2 days. Right. Existing home sales down 1.5% in September. Right. Fed to set. There's going to be another rate hike about 75 basis points, probably in November. That's what we're expecting. It could be more or less, but they're expecting to have another 75 basis point. If that does happen, most of the loans that we'll do or anyone will do will be in sevens for sure. It could be in 8.25 or something, but it will be in the high end. This is when going back to the buy down program, the buy down program will help them, right?
Start selling adjustable.
Yeah. So now let's talk. Yeah. Number 3 is New York State housing market continues to slow as the interest rates rise. It just supply and demand, right? And now home buyers are increasing seek ARM. ARM is your adjustable loans, right? So let's just talk about ARM versus your buy down, right? The buy down program that we say is still a fixed 30-year mortgage, and they're giving you a break for the first 2 years, as we mentioned. The ARM is actually adjustable. That first 5 years is going to be this rate. Let's say today is 6. We're offering 6% regular, but with ARM it might be 5.5. But it's going to stay there for first 5 years or whatever the term is. After that, it will adjust whatever the market rate is at that time. There's a huge difference, right? With the buy down, if they told you, hey, your note rate is 6.7, it's going to stay 6.7 for life of that loan after year 3 to year 30, right? It's just adjusting for the first 2 years. And we mentioned that how it gets adjusted, right? But your ARM, we want new first-time home buyers to stay away from ARM just because it's like it gets a little complicated and not all the loan officers explain it in details. We did a few deals where during COVID time they had no idea that they had the borrower had no idea that they did arm loans, right? So our job is to educate them and just let them stay away from it if possible. Go with the buy it down program. Any questions, concerns, guys? Right? Next is all about, we're talking about the market, right? The market is slowing, market is, interest rates are increasing. How about we're talking about your stats, your goals, right? Individual level. Like as a broker, we want you to be on 100%. Our first agent, we plan to have thousands of agents down the line and everything, but our first 100 agents, this is what matters. It feels really good. Ravi reached level 4. We have Ravindra reached level 4. We have few agents that are getting to level 2, level 3, and level 4, right? So our goal is to push you guys so you guys can make this a living out of real estate, right? So you guys can set your goal like, hey, I want to get to level 4. It doesn't matter if it takes me 2 years, 3 years, whatever the case is. The way we have our commission structure is set up is so you guys can succeed. There's no reset. It doesn't, every year it doesn't reset. We want you to be on level 4. After we have our 100 agents, we'll have different plans for them. But you guys will be, grandfathered in until, you guys are with us. So just make a goal. If you're not under contract, make yourself like, hey, push yourself like, hey, I want to be under contract. How are you going to do that? Just by showings. How are you going to do the showings? You have to add them to KV Core. You have to schedule, send them properties in order for them to tell you, hey, I like this property, I like that property. If you're not following up with those clients and the client is doing it themselves on Zillow and Realtor.com and stuff like that, there's a good chance that they're going to go with them or another listing agent compared to, sticking with you. Right? Questions, concerns, guys? So if you haven't closed any deal, let's close the first one. Brand new agents. If you're on level 4, go for more. You know what I mean? Because you're at level 4 now, it's like you should be making your commission because you deserve it. You put in the hard work, you did the showings, you're in that level, and we want you to succeed. Right? Questions? Anything, guys? So the next slide is the last slide. It's if someone asks you how's the market, right? And this is the picture I found, and I think it's perfect, right? So it's how you look at it. If you can afford a property, right, and you're renting, we just mentioned if it's better to rent or buy and everything, you should buy, even if the interest rates are 10%. If you can afford it, you should still buy it, as long as you know that the property value itself is going to increase over the years. If you plan to do it for short term, it's not going to work out. But if you have a family, you're settled, and you feel like, hey, I need to purchase a property, it doesn't matter where you purchase it. In New York, there's a good chance that it will go up slowly over the years, and it will be beneficial to you. So it all depends on your perspective, how you look at it. Is it half full or half empty? That'll do it, guys. Any questions, concerns on anything? Good. So we'll go around and let me know if you guys have any questions, right? We had an issue with another agent from a different brokerage for the commission split, right? For a referral fee. So I don't want to mention any names, but I just want you guys to know, if you guys getting a lead from anyone, right? Or if you're getting, if you guys asking for a listing agent's information in a different state, whatever the case might be, you guys want to make it clear to that listing or the other agent, are you going to pay them anything or not? If you are, it has to be written. It can't be verbal. And when the check comes and you guys have no idea what it is, right? So as long as it's written, they can't, just say like, or you can't like say, hey, I'm not going to pay you anything. So just make sure that if you have a deal and if you're going to get a referral from anyone, from any brokerage, just have it written, have it amount written. I have the forms here. You just tell me, hey, I need a referral form, and I'll print it out for you, right? We have to keep it professional. We have to keep it, respectful with other agents. I don't care which agency they're from. All of us, if we're a licensed realtor, we're all working hard, and we're trying to make a living out of that. The last thing we want is disrespect or threaten or say anything. Hey, where's my commission? Where's this? Where's that? If you're expecting it, put it on a piece of paper. There's no denial in that, right? questions, concerns, guys? Anything on your mind? Right? Good? So we'll go around. Let me know if you guys have any questions about our Jennifer for rentals. All good? Are you getting a lot of calls for Section 8? Right? So Section 8, I put in on WhatsApp the other day too. Section 8, you don't get any broker's fee.
Yes,
Right?
there's no, actually, it's not that you don't get the broker's fee, but Section 8 don't pay.
Yeah, Section 8
So
will
in
not
order
pay.
for you to get that, you have to go to public assistant or the tenant has to pay.
Mm.
But tenant is not gonna pay 15% of the annual rent.
Hmm. How about just one rent? They will not. Do you
Yeah,
got a
but
deal?
why would we rent it as an agent to a Section 8 and collect 2,000 when you can do the same rental to City Feps and get 5,000?
So they can legally do that if they're in Section 8 client, they have their voucher and everything, and now they want to do the city fab. They can do both?
No,
No, right?
no, City Feps and Section 8 is
Completely
different.
different.
Also, the difference between the two programs is that Section 8, the landlord don't get a security.
They don't get it, yeah.
They don't get no back rent.
Mhm.
They don't get the 3 months in advance, and they don't get a holding fee. So, for example, it's a process. It takes about 6 weeks to 2 months. And is the landlord willing to leave his space up empty for 2 months?
Yeah.
And then it could be at the end of it, they're not qualified.
Mm-hmm.
So I advise my client to go with the City Feps. You get 3 months in advance. You get all the holding fee, and the process is simpler.
So these,
Plus, you get the 15% of the broker's
Yeah.
commission.
that's the main thing, guys.
It's a lot for
Yeah,
the 3-bedroom
it
now.
is, yeah.
It is. It's like closing
Yeah.
a deal.
I give you an example to many agents. It
Mhm.
depends on where your focus is. You know, if you're going to focus, I mean, there's some new agents that get exhausted from, opposite leads from,
It's
it is
a lot
hard.
of work.
Yeah.
If you don't understand the Section 8 and how the program works, you
Yeah.
can't do it for a first time.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing a deal right now with Sheldon.
Mhm.
He reached out to me for help, but that deal is in process right
Nice,
now.
nice. Okay.
Yeah, that's about it with the program though.
Nice.
Section 8, it's difficult to work with them too because if you try to reach them on the phone, you can't get through.
Yeah.
Communication is not there.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Whereas City Facts, you have a better chance of getting it done.
Question.
Nice. And
Question,
Carlos,
is
one
that-
second. Carlos?
Yeah, the downside to the city faps is that nobody wants to take it.
That's
Like,
not true.
I'm having a hard time. I have
Yeah.
about 10 of them.
What do you have, 10 clients?
Yeah, I have 10 of them, and
Okay, so do you have the apartment or you have the client?
Clients.
I have the client, but I don't have the apartment.
Well, that's the thing. Stop
Yeah.
focusing on the client and work on the apartment. Convince the landlord to take the program. Show them why it's beneficial for them. Because, for example, an apartment which is a 3-bedroom, a regular person can't afford $3,188.
Which is true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like a normal person with a regular paycheck, that's a lot of money. So if you show them out, listen, this money is guaranteed. You're gonna get it every month, you have to convince the landlord.
I have
So-
a question for you. Sorry to interrupt, but is the city of vouchers gonna review every year?
Yes,
For
they
that
they
plan?
they raised it every year. Not every year, but let's say you're a landlord and you rent it to City Taps.
Mhm.
At the end of the year, when the lease is finished, they give you an increase.
Okay.
Yes.
But